Welcome back to What's in Your Watch List, and we've got the media review for Andor Episode 4, which just released, and we'll be going over that here very shortly. Before we get started, real quick, I want to go ahead and go over what I always do with every single one. Everyone has their opinion. They are entitled to those. I'm entitled to mine as well. That being said, if you want to have a discussion or comments on this, feel free to do so. If you're here with the sole purpose of trolling, we can't have that. We're just here for entertainment and fun, so it will be removed so that everyone can have entertainment and fun. That being said, we're going to move forward with this and kind of touch on the synopsis for this episode. Spoilers on all of these, everybody already knows that by now, but if you don't, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, and you have been warned. All right, that being said, Andor, episode 4, what happened in this one? What's going on? You're really starting to see the building blocks of where Rogue One came from. Rogue One was the one who said, okay, if we have Star Wars A New Hope, this is the only reason we have this because this happened. If we have, these here, this is what happened with these, and so on and so forth. They build off of one another. I don't understand exactly how the timeline is really changing up so much, but still making sense. It's very odd. I mean, I could explain this throughout this thing, but trust me, you don't want to sit here for 4.5 hours worth of me just using my hands and trying to figure out how everything is placed in the elements of the Star Wars saga. We're not doing that. So we're sticking to Andor. You see that the spy is starting to take form. They're starting to give him a choice. What are you good at? You've been running all this time and everything. You're pretty good at running away from the Empire. What if you could stick it to them? What if you could go ahead and do some damage that would actually cause some good to other people and damage to them in the process? So it kind of opens up some areas there that he's joining the beginnings of the rebellion. They want to rob the payroll. If I'm not mistaken, it's the quarterly payroll for an entire sector or whatever the Empire. We're talking about some serious money. So he's thrown into a group of other rebels who have been planning this out for quite some time. They do not trust him because he's just been thrown in. And I mean, rightfully so. They've been planning for so long, and all of a sudden they have 3 days, and he's thrown in there and has to learn all this stuff that quick to go ahead and jump in and do what he needs to do. We find out that they're going under cover of a certain festival that's going to be happening, so they can go in. Nobody's going to see anything different. They'll do what they need to do. By the time they're gone, festival's going off. They're going to have part of the festival is a big cluster of comets or something along those lines that go across. That's where they're going to take off in their spaceship just before that, so they can't actually be chased because it's too late then. Whenever you start thinking about it, it's really putting things close to the wire and trying to figure out what's happening. That's one story that's happening in there. The other one, you really get a feel for what's happening on the political side of things and how some people don't believe in what they're doing, even in higher office, in the Senate, per se. So you see someone showing up to purchase some art, antiquities, from a dealer. That particular dealer seems to be the same guy that recruited the spy to come into this. So they go to the back, starts talking to her. You can tell that they've had discussions before about things that they're planning, and how much of a risk she is taking being inside of the Empire as deep as she is, and feeding the information and giving them uh, giving them ammo to be used against them. It's really starting to build up on that point. And now we're going to see where the foreshadowing is directly on what's going to be happening with this heist that's going to be going on. So episode 5 should be particularly about the heist, is what I'm thinking, unless they're going to do more of the build up to it in 5, and 6 will be the heist, because he still has 3 days to figure out how to do all of this. The show is great. It's moving a little bit faster than it started out with, now that we've got the spy element in there, the rebellion, showing who they are to a degree at least. It still has a lot of elements in it where you're not sure what's going on. But then again, you're talking about Star Wars, where there's a lot of things that where you think it's right in front of your face is actually something else happening off to the side. That's a good thing, because then once it happens, you're like, oh, I remember that. That's what I believe this is going for. It's going for that true element of what the feel of Star Wars was with New Hope, with Empire Strikes Back, with Return of the Jedi. It almost feels like George is back and doing his thing with this. I cannot confirm nor deny on that. I have no clue. I know is I'm enjoying it. It's got a lot of great elements to it. It's got that feel to it. A lot of names to remember in here that I cannot. I'm telling you that right now, so it's not going to happen. Remember, he's from a place called Canary. I remember that because they just mentioned that so many times in the last episode. But it is a fun episode, a fun series that's going on. It's starting to move along a little bit more. I think everyone's going to enjoy what's going on with this if you're a Star Wars fan. If you really liked Rogue One, this is really starting to play into that same pulse of that one, with all of the espionage aspects to it. So don't miss out on Andor, Disney Plus. That is coming out, I believe, on Wednesdays, is whenever that one's still showing. And of course, if you're enjoying this, please, please, please remember to like, subscribe, and share today. Subscribe so you don't miss out on any of these reviews moving forward. We're still going to be reviewing Andor until it completes out, which I believe it's got another 4 more episodes to finish out on this one. I'm finishing up with She-Hulk. It's got 1 more episode on that. Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, still going on that one. I believe that one has another 4 or 5 episodes on that one. And once She-Hulk is done, I will be choosing another one to go with, and I think I have an idea, and we'll be discussing about that, I believe, on the next review that I do. But keep in mind, it's not only these that I have on there. I also have book reviews. I also have shows that I do where I do online interviews. And I also have my 31 Days of Halloween ranked in order, 31 through 1. Find out what my #1 movie is of all time in the horror element. And by doing so, subscribing, you won't miss out on any of those because they're dropping daily. So that being said, thank you for paying attention. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me on this. And I hope you're enjoying these shows. And if you are, reach out, let me know. We'll have a discussion. That way there's no spoilers out there in written form that somebody can see that will mess up for them. Until then, always got to ask, what's in your watch list?